All right, boom, we're back at it.
How we doing? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We're on. We're live. We're rolling. I'm in. I'm in.
We're
A, I'm in.
rocking.
A, I'm in a secret location.
I give you credit. You're in the other. You're in the cave. You're in like
All right.
John Gruden. You're in like John Gruden's little studio with all the tapes.
Oh, with all the emails.
Yeah, his what is it? It's like yeah. What was his thing? The Fired Coaches Association or something he had going
Oh
for a while.
yeah. Well, today's gonna be a great guest, and I'll let you intro him in a second. We got Coach Tommy Farrell, the head coach of Manchester High School. Correct me if I'm wrong. The youngest head coach in the Shore Conference, or
Yeah, I believe he is the youngest head coach in the Shore Conference, and I believe one of, if not the youngest in the state. So interesting.
give us a little background, then I'll let him intro himself as well. But
Oh, sure. So Tommy's obviously family. Known him for a long time. Great kid. Went to Donovan Catholic, which was Monsignor Donovan at the time. He went on to play at Stonehill. Always a smart kid, and really kind of jumped into coaching right away. Obviously, he's the son of a coach. Been around sports his entire life. Young, so passionate. And was fortunate enough after a couple gigs and a couple stints to land the head coaching job at Manchester. And he's coming up on year 2. And I'll tell you one thing, you can already start to see the culture change. And it's really awesome to see a young guy really be, successful, maybe not looked at in wins and losses, but off the field and that, in like the culture aspect of just changing lives in general. So, I'm obviously biased, him being family, but I'm really looking forward to hearing his perspective on just things about the game.
well, we're gonna bring him in and talk about a lot of things today, so it should be a lot of fun.
Let's rock and roll.
I'm excited. Here he is, Coach. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. Derek, that was the nicest thing you said to me, I think, since I've known you as my cousin.
Smoke and mirrors, bro. I got to be kind of nice. Listen, I was taught to always lead with a compliment. Always lead with something positive, and then you can start.
I love it. I appreciate that, guys.
My guy, buddy.
Coach, tell everybody your background. Where you played, how you got into coaching, what kind of got you there, and then obviously where you are now. And
yeah. So look, I have to start off with my father. Great relationship with my dad. He's coached at New Egypt and Donovan and Monmouth University. He got out of coaching right when I went into high school at Donovan in 2009 to watch me play. I was lucky enough to play for Coach Duddy, where we won the B-South Championship in 2012. Went 6-4. I had the unfortunate experience of trying to block Quentin Nelson in the non-public playoffs. That wasn't fun. But I was lucky enough to play at Stonehill College, which is now Division I. I'm happy to see what Coach Gardner is doing there. Played outside linebacker. Then right out of college, I got my master's at Syracuse. Knew my junior year of college, I blew my knee out. I was helping the younger kids out. Knew I wanted to coach someday down the road. So Coach Fentz at New Egypt gave me that opportunity right out the gate. 2018 and 2019, I coached at New Egypt. 2020, I got my first teaching gig up in Parsippany, where I drove an hour 40, but I loved every second of it. Coaching with Derek Eatman. I would call Derek, my cousin Derek, all the time on my way home when I was in traffic on 280. And then I had a really lucky experience to go to Shore Regional with Coach Kaz. Coaching with him for a year. And I thought I was going to be at Shore for a long time, learning under him. And I was fortunate enough. I live in Manchester. The job opened up. I applied for it, and I was lucky enough to get the gig. And we're going in year 2. We have a lot of returning starters coming back, and this should be an exciting season for Manchester.
Cool. Who were some of the teams that are on your schedule this year?
Yeah, so we open up this Friday with North Plainfield, who Derek Eatman is the head coach, who I worked under at Parsippany High School. So that should be a fun.
Yeah. I remember when you guys were setting that up. I thought that was kind of cool,
Yeah. So so we're both Group 3 teams. He always, we call it the Iron Bowl. It's the first annual Iron Bowl. F for Farrell, E for Eatman. FE is Iron. So we're calling it the first annual Iron Bowl. They're coming down to the Hawks Nest on Friday night, and hopefully we'll go there next year. They're getting a new stadium up in North Plainfield this year, so just a great opportunity for the kids to play different areas of the state. So we're fired up for Friday night.
That is cool. So going into a program, taking it over and I'm just thinking back to, I mean, now as I'm getting older now, so I'm 49, but I know what it's like to take over a program at a young age. I was a head coach at 30. So, and I had only been coaching for 3 years at the time when I became a head coach. So, because I didn't start coaching right away, I was I was working for corporations for a few years. So, I know what it's like. It could be it's exciting. It's challenge. It's everything all wrapped up in one, right? You're learning as they're learning. Tell me some of the things that you found to be the most exciting and the most challenging, being a younger coach.
So the most exciting thing is, to me, we walk out with the band Friday nights. Like from the locker room, we walk through the tailgate in the parking lot, right onto the stadium. There's nothing like Friday Night Lights. There's nothing like, walking through your family. Even when you're a player, I took that from Coach Eatman at Parsippany. We walked with the band out onto the field, down the hill at Parsippany. And I loved every second of it. And going back to what I said, hurting my knee in college, my junior year, I was out for the whole year. I knew that football was not going to be over for me in just 1 year. I knew I needed to be on the sideline, not to be a player, not to be, as much as I love the chess match of football, you run this, I'm going to call this, just to be in that atmosphere and to lead young men. I'm a product of Coach Duddy at Donovan, who's very positive. I'm not afraid to tell a kid I love him. Even if I rip you in practice, I'm the first one to put my arm around your shoulder. And just to be, I know you guys are going to say I'm the youngest. I'm the young. At the end of the day, I'm a head coach, and I love leading these young men, and I know what these kids need. So to get this opportunity at Manchester, just to lead these young men, is great. Look, I lift with the kids. I run with the kids. I listen to their music. I'm not afraid to say that. So to relate to their level, they know I'm not their friend. They know I'm their coach, but to have that bonding experience with them on and off the field is just huge. And that's what I'm fired up to do every day. I wake up before my alarm. This is what I was meant to do. And I'm just happy to be here, man. I'm blessed.
When you think about coaching from a philosophical standpoint, you talked about the positivity that that environment that you came from. What is kind of your philosophical approach to developing and building your team? And the reason I say it, right, Manchester, they've had some really good teams, but there's been a lot of ups and downs at Manchester, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And inconsistency.
All right, that's a great word for it. Okay. So, what is your philosophy and approach to building for the long run to be able to build the program up the way that you want it to become?
I think if they believe in you off the football field, right? Like, I'm proud to say, I'm going to brag about, I'm not a braggadocious person. I don't like, as much as I love being on this show, I don't like doing this stuff necessarily because I love the chess match of football. But here's one thing I'll brag about. We had for what I can recall, is the first time that Manchester football had a 3.0 team GPA. So for them to believe in me off the field to get the jobs done in the classroom, we did 3 or 4 community service trips to the 55 up communities in Manchester.
I saw that. That was excellent.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. And not only did I make them do it, the kids enjoyed doing it. And then another thing, going back to when I played at Stonehill, you see it on my sweatshirt, Dig. I took it from Stonehill, discipline, intellect, and grit. I always say, for example, today's Wednesday's practice, we did not have any intellect today. We were disciplined when we went on a hard count. We were gritty in between the trenches, but, we made some philosophical errors, some schematical errors in the secondary. We lacked intellect. So discipline, intellect, and grit, if we hit all 3 phases, we're probably going to be successful on the football field. And, Coach Truman, culture is a great word. It's a great thing that as a first-year head coach to build a program off of. but it's also a buzzword, like I can do all these things. We can get them new, nice white helmets. We can get them, into the community. We can get them having good grades. And those are all great. And I'm not diminishing that by any means. But at the end of the day, like I am a football coach, I am a competitor, and I want this to relate to wins at the end of the day. So I think we're going to take that step. I'm hoping we take that step. We have the talent to do it. Now it's just time to execute. And I'd like to think that's coaching. If I can get these kids to execute with the talent that they have, that's the step from going from year 1 to year 2 as a head football coach.
Very cool. What are some of the building block things that you think are essential? So you got, weight rooms, obviously an important part of it. But what are the things that you build into the program to help each individual kind of be successful as a player?
Yeah. So look, I'm a run first kind of guy. I want to bring back that old school Ocean County smash mouth football to Manchester. And nothing against before I got there. They were a 5 wide. They were, sling it kind of football team. I'm kind of the opposite. So to be that smash mouth football team, going off of you like a building block or a philosophical thing, I think we had to get in the weight room. I think that was a part of me. No excuses. Part of me joining late last year was we didn't really have a good off-season program. So for me, being in the weight room for an entire year, you see that now with a returning.
Oh, absolutely.
We're returning all linemen on both sides of the ball. So if we want to build that identity of running the football and being in 21 personnel, we got to win up front. And that was huge in the weight room. So yeah, to answer your question, the weight room was everything. And even during camp, my brother, Derek, my brother plays at Monmouth University. I met with Coach Tim, who's their strength and conditioning coach, and they lift 2 to 3 days a week. I followed that exact program when I was at Monmouth, not the lifts necessarily, but just building those strength building blocks in the weight room, just being in there. Absolutely. And, and like being in the weight room is one thing. You can go to, Tom's River Fitness or Planet Fitness and being there. Oh, I was in the gym for 2 hours. No, you can get in the weight room for 30 to 45 minutes and really get after it. So that was I took attendance in the off season. I'm all about multiple sports. If you played a sport, great. I wanted you to play multiple sports, but if you weren't, I was taking attendance in the off season. And that's kind of how we picked jersey numbers this year. It wasn't just by class. It was how many times were you in the weight room? How many times, did you not get in trouble? It was pretty much like the less demerits you had or the less points you had, you got to pick your jersey number. So there were some sophomores that picked the jersey number before senior. And that's just kind of how I started it going into year 2, just being in the weight room, especially with the identity we want to build on the offensive side of the ball.
I think that's great, man. I mean, honestly, that's a great way, a little nice incentive for those younger guys to kind of, hey man, like I can go do this. If I do this, I can get rewarded and really kind of follow through with it. And I'll tell you one thing, and Dave, he can back me up on it because he was at Monmouth 7-on-7 when your team was there. And so he's seen your guys live. And I said, the first thing I said was, damn, this is not the same team looking wise, physically. Yeah. Like you can tell these guys have been doing stuff to get bigger, stronger, faster. Because looking at some of those guys that I saw in camp last year and now saw in June, totally different team physically.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, and I appreciate the compliment, but we can look the part. But at that Monmouth 7-on-7, we didn't perform the part. But the good thing is that we improved from the Monmouth 7-on-7 to the Shore's best 7-on-7 to the Shore Conference 7-on-7. And you told me this, cuz like it's all about improving and competing. And we did that from the first 7-on-7 to the second 7-on-7. I'm not a guy at the banquet. I have my banquet on Super Bowl Sunday. We do a banquet brunch. I'm not the kind of guy who talks about 7-on-7s or scrimmages because that doesn't matter. That's not on my resume. That's not on our resume. But the improvement aspect and just being a student of the game to improve was huge for us. It was awesome. It was just good to see. So,
well, every part of it is part of the building, the culture, and getting the more wins you have, whether it's in 7-on-7 or it's at a scrimmage or they just build on itself, it builds confidence, and those things build on each other in order to become, more successful as a team. What are your, so let's say, like, let's go to look at like some plans. So if you were to say, like, do you, and I don't know if you do or you don't, like, I'll give an example. Yeah. So, yeah, Derek knows this. So when years ago when I took over a program in Powell Park, Leonia, it was probably one of the worst teams in the state of New Jersey when we took it over.
P.S. Overpeck Park, like just whatever, they had to move all those games that they were going to do there. They had to move them because the field conditions are unplayable. So something's going
really?
on in Overpeck.
Why they were supposed to have games in Overpeck Park?
Yeah, like they had like a little jamboree, like Ramsey was playing somebody, like all that, and then they had to move it to Westwood because field is deemed unplayable.
Really, I didn't even know that.
That's what I said. Where's that taxpayer money?
I am. The fun fact of New Jersey high school football is Derek DePascal.
Yeah, I know he is. Listen, so once you move below the bridge, like, obviously I lived up there.
We're out of it.
I don't even know what's going on half the time. So,
and
like,
listen, it's a little different. North Jersey. Tommy got to coach in Parsippany. Tommy got to coach in Parsippany for a year, so he was Morris County for a year. I'm getting these calls like, "Hey, I got to play Mountain Lakes," and hey, buddy, buckle up, buddy. Here they come, dude. Like,
yeah, be glad you got out of Parsippany.
Oh no, they can't be that. I said, yeah, dude, just wait. You don't understand. Some of these guys are brutal. But anyway, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah. It's not. Well, Parsippany Troy Hills is not a bad place to be. That's the problem why Parsippany has a hard time, because Parsippany Troy Hills, everyone wants to go there. So what was I gonna say? Oh, so anyway, so when I took over that program, it was just it was left for dead. It was a co-op, and the superintendent came to me and he said, "Listen, it's going to take you 5 years to get to where you want to be." So we set that as our goal. Like the 5th year was to go to be in the state championship. Amazingly, we were able to do it. But if I said like year 2, I would have been doing is torturing myself. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, when you have your, with your kids, I would say every year our goal is to win a state championship, to win a league championship. Those are our goals, but the key is progress, right? You don't get to that point right away all the time. How do you stay in step with players in as you're building the program at the same time that you're looking to one day win a state championship? Because every coach, that's what their goal is. And how do you do that from a balance standpoint? I know it's a tough question, but
I gotcha.
I'm curious to hear.
Well, the first thing is, going into the interview, as a 27-year-old last year, going into the interview, I wanted to see, did I have administrative support? And I absolutely did. Keith Lister, my athletic director, has been nothing but amazing to me since I've been there. My superintendent, John Baronato, I think I was his first hire. And we just have that special relationship where I can text him. I can text my superintendent. I can text my athletic director. There's that, communication is huge for me. And it's huge for them as well. So to just have a transparency aspect to it is awesome. But to answer your question, from a goals aspect, right? Like, I don't want to take the cliche answer and say, I don't have football goals, but and I don't have football goals. I think I took that from PJ Fleck. He always says he never has football goals for his team. He has community service goals. He has academic goals, and he lets the captains and the senior leadership provide the football goals. Now, like I said before, is winning important to me? Absolutely. If winning was important to me, I should not be a head football coach. I should not be a coach in general. I'm a competitor. Right. I'm a competitor at heart.
At the end of the day, everybody wants to win.
Right. But it is at the high school level, I will say, here's maybe where I'm different. It's bigger than football, especially in Manchester. It's a blue collar community. I want to see these kids get to college. I want to see these kids serve the community. But when you do those things outside of the football field, those goals are going to relay onto the football field. And my seniors, I don't want to put it on this show what their goals are, but they have high aspirations. And I don't know the last time Manchester had very high on the field goals. So for my I have a captain's dinner the night before training camp starts. So we started August 7th.
I love that you do that.
August 6th, I have the team. I took it from Coach Duddy. Each player votes for their captains. The coaches also vote. I tallied all the votes on a piece of paper. I nominated the captains in minicamp, and they came to my house for a steak. I grill steaks. I make potato. I look like my Italian mother, Derek, but I'm Irish, right? My name is Irish. My mom says I may look like her, but I act like my dad.
You want to talk about an Irish family, buddy? Whoa, baby.
So I have my captains over for dinner, and the only rule is I don't want to talk about football. Let's talk about school. Let's talk about your friend group. Let's talk about what you guys are doing in the summer. And that camaraderie builds into, wow, now when I get to hit a different color jersey, I'm gonna support my brother through and through, from whistle to whistle, from quarter to quarter. And that's huge. So I know what the football goals my guys have. When I lay the foundation now, again, and I know I'm going a little long here, I'm blessed enough to have 11 assistants on my staff.
That's amazing.
I have 4 volunteers.
He's got a ton. He's got a ton.
I have 4 volunteers who are all alumni, and I have 3 former head coaches on my staff. And Bob Masseri, who coached my dad at Donovan.
That's something you should definitely touch on, because your staff, it's so like.
Yeah, no,
you set it up the right way. Where look, and I know you're smart enough to do it this way, right? Yeah. And with dad and everything, it's a great way. But hey, I'm going into this as a young head coach. I'm not going to know everything. At least if I surround myself with some of those guys, right? They've gone through what I don't know how to handle, or, they can kind of just help me. I mean, look, you set it up great. And to have those guys on staff, what a benefit.
All right. So just to touch on that, let me shout him out real quick. So Bob Masseri, State Hall of Famer, Shore Conference Hall of Famer, coached it. He has more coaching experience than we do on all fingers and toes. He just did a stint in Lee, Florida, I think a couple years ago, before he came back. He was my dad's head coach at Donovan. I got Gerard O'Donnell, who's my uncle, my dad's best friend. I call him Uncle G. He's my defensive coordinator, winningest coach at Manchester with 27 wins. And then I got Lamar Davenport, who I just brought on board as my D-backs coach. He was the Asbury Park head coach last year. And he doesn't talk that much. He's a soft-spoken dude. I said, yo, Lamar, don't be afraid to speak up, bro. You have the highest winning percentage out of any coach on the staff. He went 5-3 last year. And then I have Jeff Brown as my offensive coordinator, who's won multiple state championships with Jackson Memorial. I think he went to a sectional with Mainland when he was the O-line coach there 2 years ago. I'm just blessed with an amazing staff, and I relay things here and there, but they also know at the end of the day, I'm the head coach, no matter what my age is. So they respect that. The kids respect that. But just to bounce ideas off of former head coaches, off of 11 coaches, off of 4 volunteers who played at Manchester back in the day is absolutely huge. And, I'm not going to sit. I know the two of you will both say, you could still be a head coach and you don't know all the answers. Bob Masseri at 74 years old says he doesn't have all the answers. But when you have 12 guys who believe in the same thing and have the same values, it makes my job so much easier.
100%.
That's a fantastic and unique thing that you have in taking over a program that had not had a history of a lot of success, because that doesn't usually happen. Usually what happens is there's a whole huge transition from year 1 to year 2 to year 3. To be able to start with that is really a great thing. It gives you a leg up foundation-wise. Yeah, foundation. Yeah. I mean, foundation, right, which is you're going to build off of that anyway, right? You don't have to build the foundation. You have the foundation to start with, which is amazing. That really is amazing.
And going off of foundation, not to interrupt you, Coach, but my freshman coach, Joe Saratelli, one of the best football players in Jackson Memorial history, was on that team 02, 03, I think it was 01, 02, 03. That, I think he said he lost 2 football games in his entire career. So to have him come back from coaching after a little stint of not coaching, and to be my freshman coach, which you guys both know that to have a freshman coach you can trust and run that program is vital. So I have to give him a shout out as well. I know I'm probably missing people. I'm missing people, but I'm super blessed. It makes my job so much easier.
That's awesome. That was really great. I think we got a really, really good groundwork of success. So now we can get to the fun stuff.
Let's do it.
So we like to get your opinions on different things within college football, and we always everyone we kind of bring on, we talk about a couple of these topics with. Then Derek probably knows where I'm going. Because I'm always there's no wrong or right answer. We are always just curious because the world of high school football and college football is constantly evolving,
Mhm.
and recruiting, right, which is basically the world we're in. What is your approach to recruiting with your kids? Like how do you set the stage with your parents? How do you set the stage with your players? Because that today in today's football, the way football is such a difficult thing. Not just because recruiting, that's a whole different ball game, which we'll talk about, but like helping everyone understand expectations. How do you do
Yeah.
that?
So the first thing I do is I'm not afraid to say it. I try to go to every single home AYF game at Manchester. I'm lucky to live in Manchester. The AYF fields are closer to my house than the high school. I could ride my bike there if I wanted to. There's no excuse for me to not go there, show my face, wear a Manchester sweatshirt. I'll do all that. From a recruiting aspect, with the new rules of transferring and recruiting, here's what I'll say. And maybe this isn't the young guy take. I don't have the foundation to recruit right now. If I was in 8th grade and I was an 8th grader's parent, why would you come to Manchester? Let's call a spade a spade. 3-7 last year. Only winning season in the last 10 years, I believe, was 2021, besides 2010. What am I going to do to sell the school? Look, I'm coming out here. My administrator is probably going to be mad at me. But at the end of the day, we're not a winning program. That's on me. I'm a losing coach at 3-7. So, for example, I have a couple kids who play at Manchester AYF who are going to other local high schools, other local Catholic schools. I wish them nothing but the best. I tell them to take coaching, to be coachable, to have fun and enjoy the moment. I'm not one that's going to come out here and get mad. I'm not one that's going to like petition a transfer and say, I'm going to ruin some 9th grader's life, some 11th grader's life. I'm not that guy. If you want to play for Manchester football, I'm going to coach you. If you don't want to play for Manchester football, I'm going to root for you. That may be a different aspect, but right now, I don't think Manchester football is there yet to be on that recruiting scale. And that's on me. I'm calling myself out, looking at you guys in the camera, and I'm saying, I got to be better. Manchester football has to be better. And this upcoming year, I hope I make that change where when we do start winning, now we have 71 kids on our roster, top to bottom. That's pretty good for Manchester football.
That's your numbers heavy.
Very good.
And last year you were what?
And by the way, I was more talking college recruiting.
Well, there you go. Look, you're gonna get my honest answer all the time. I was gonna
let him get through this part. I was gonna let him get through that part because I know that's it. Because you gotta look at it really, in all honesty, Dave. Like,
I didn't even think about that.
No, I mean, look, it's something that obviously Tommy and I go back and forth with, discuss it. Obviously, me being in a parochial world, him being in a public school world, me being in this world, just talking about like obviously optics itself, like, and I think obviously I'm biased, but I think his approach is excellent to that, right? Like in order to sell something, it really helps when the product you're selling is something worth it, right? Like it's hard to sell, shit, it's kind of, so you got to put it all together and look big picture. I also think the approach of, hey, good luck where you're going, and then keep that good relationship for the bounce back.
Yeah, but I'm not even I guess that's great in the hindsight of it.
I know that's not even your thought process.
No, but like what I don't know. Maybe again, I call it the positive Duddy effect, right? Coach Duddy, who I played for. What good am I going to get from petitioning a transfer or losing a recruit? Right. Like, what am I going to? That's not what a man is, right? Coach Duddy always said, "I know 18-year-old men and I know 55-year-old boys." What if I am all salty because an 8th grader wants to go to another school? That's me being a boy, right? I got to set the precedent at Manchester. We got to win some football games. Now, I have 71 kids in Manchester, which is a pretty, we're the smallest group 3 in the state of New Jersey by 6 students, right? 6 students less from a male population standpoint. We would be a group 2. Now, I'm not saying Central and South Jersey group 2 playoffs are easier than group 3 playoffs, but from a PowerPoint standpoint, from a numbers standpoint, having 71 kids is pretty good. But when Manchester, and I'm not saying when Manchester football wins, I'm going to tell you that it's going to take, we're going to have, hopefully 100 more kids. I'm sorry, more than 100 kids. So that's how I look at it. I know you were talking about college, Coach, but that's my aspect, because I know the rules are changing in the state of New Jersey from high school. So.
All right, and now you can get into how you get guys to that next level, guys that, because look, you do have, I mean, look, you got some individual talent, right? Like, you're going to have some guys that can go places to play. How are you going to handle that in terms of that whole recruiting aspect?
Yeah. So last year, I think I had several seniors that graduated. I would say a few contributors. One of them is going to play for the New Jersey Warriors. Another one is going to be a scholarship track runner at Lock Haven, which is Division II, and he's going to be walking on for football. And Tyrone Benjamin, he was one of the leading receivers in the short conference last year. I make it a point, and maybe you can go back to my age here, because I was on the recruiting trail 10 years ago as a player. I have relationships with a lot, I would say dozens of head coaches at the Division II and Division III level, even 1AA, where I make it a point to sell my kids. I wouldn't be doing my job as a head football coach if I wasn't promoting my program, promoting my kids, getting them into the weight room to meet with our kids, and selling them, and I'd like to think, like you said, Derek, we do have a lot of individual talent. I have a rising sophomore defensive end and Curtis Mayer, who put on 30 pounds of muscle, grew 2 inches. Joe Harizmiak from Rutgers was, all he had to saw was one play against Tom Tiver East and said, this kid's on my radar. That was huge. And I love that Rutgers gets to every high school, because that was awesome. I have some sophomores who are now going to be juniors. I had 8 sophomores starting on both sides of the ball last year. So they're on the radar. I have a lot of seniors up and coming that were all division as juniors, all conference as juniors last year. So just to sell my kids and just to get them in the faces of college coaches is huge. Get them to go to different clinics like Boardwalk's Beast and Shore's Best, and just to get them in the faces to see what they can do in the off season is huge. And that's probably my number one job in the off season is to get my kids to go to college. That's the end goal.
Yeah.
The end goal is to get them to get a secondary education, and if they can get football on top of that, that's even better. So that's kind of my aspect on that.
Yeah, well, I think it's it was interesting when we had I think it was not Coach Grant, but it was Coach Holman, who talked about he's really into transforming their lives and how football could be transformative. And he talked a lot about it, and he talked about how recruiting is a big aspect for those kids, enabling them to transform their lives by being able to go to college, leverage football to be able to do that, get themselves a better education. Is that something that you feel is important in your program? Because there's a couple philosophies. Like, I coached with guys that, basically felt like most of their players will be Division III kids, and they're going to push that to enjoy high school football as much as they can. And if college became an option for them, great. And then I've been around, talking to Coach Holman, talking to Coach Bell. They really drive home the point that college is an opportunity for you to get yourself an education. So there's obviously different schools of thought of it. There's no right or wrong answer. What is your overall philosophy on that with respect to football?
Yeah, look, I'm all academics, right? So, to take another cliche answer, I was lucky enough to go to a Division II school that offered me a good amount of academic money, where they matched my athletic scholarship to make it almost a half ride. So I was lucky on that aspect. For my kids, if they want to go and just be an academic student, I'm fine with it, because you both know how much the commitment is to be a college football player. My little brother's going through it right now at Monmouth University as a preferred walk-on. As a walk-on, and I put walk-on in quotes because he's just another guy on the team who's getting treated like a scholarship player. But at the other aspect of it too, Coach, is that selfishly, as a new head coach, my reputation is also on the line. If I say to a coach, "Hey, this kid's a 1AA kid, and he's not, they might not take my email seriously. They might not take my Twitter DM seriously. So I have to also be not selfish, but like realistic in a way of where could these kids play? Where's their commitment level at to the game of football? Where are they from an academic standpoint? Do they just get by? Are they actually studying? Are they doing what they need to do to get it done in the classroom and in the weight room? Do they play multiple sports? So my aspect is, how bad do and Derek, you told me this too. My dad tells me this too. Do you like football? Do you love football? Or do you live football? And if you don't live football, then maybe college football is not for you on no matter what level. And we're seeing that with the transfer portal after COVID too. Division III football is not easy. And every player who plays at any level should be blessed. So I take that approach with my kids. When I sit down with college coaches, after they meet my kids, I have a one-on-one conversation with those college coaches, and we go from there. But selfishly at the end of the day too, my reputation is on the line. Am I a realistic recruiter to sell my kids as well? So I got to take that to an account.
I think that's a huge point, is being able to diagnose. That's where those coaches that have had the experience can really be a huge asset for you, because they've seen so many different types of players over the years and all that head coaching experience. Not just obviously your experience, which you're getting super quick, but also the experience and leveraging those guys who've been there. Because they also, the great thing is those guys have relationships too, which is great that you'll be able to draw from, which I think is so unique for a head coach that's younger, that you have people that have those relationships that you can get ingrained and indoctrinated right into. So you then have those relationships for the long term, which is really cool. I mean, that's a really, really unique, cool aspect of your situation, which I think is great.
An example is Coach Zabrowski from King's College. He recruited me when I was, in 2012, a senior in high school, getting recruited out of high school. He was recruiting me. Now he's the assistant head coach and defense coordinator at Kings. He's recruiting my kids. He recruited my little brother. So to have those relationships is huge. And being a Division II football player at Stonehill College, and I'll come right out and say I didn't play that much. But to see the teammates that I had that got NFL tryouts at a Division II level, and now Stonehill's 1AA in the NEC is huge. Talent changes every year. The game gets faster and the game gets, more talented every year. But graduating college in 2017 and being a football player and now being a head coach in 2023, you get to see where would your kid be able to play on this type of team. And that helps me a huge lot.
Did you watch Swamp Kings yet?
I watched the first episode last night with my wife. And I think Tim Tebow came out of the womb just as mature as he is now. When was Tim Tebow ever immature?
That's my question. wait till you get to episode 2 where he talks about how he when he first joined youth football. Did you saw that, Derek?
And the coach was talking about, guys, it's not about winning, it's about having fun. And he looked at him and he said, "Coach, this sucks."
Well, what about the Friday and Saturday night workouts when they put the war paint on their face? I'm like, God,
that's what I said to
God
Dave.
bless Florida football.
I said, if my quarterback walked in the weight room like that, I'm running through a wall.
Yeah. And then he got the needed 4th and 1. I forgot who they were playing, but his freshman year, they're like, we're putting in Tim Tebow. And he gets
How about
it.
the jump?
He does the first down.
Throwing a jump pass.
Oh my God.
Listen, I obviously have been having later nights lately, so I got to rip through all the episodes and watch the whole damn thing. So, but let's just, look, Tim Tebow, just a whole nother level, man.
And and Shaq.
Yeah.
Me and my cuz are lucky on this level, is that my wife is due in October. He was just blessed enough to have a baby girl. We're both having girls. So my wife, all of a sudden, we've been watching Friday Night Lights and Swamp Kings and Last Chance U. I've been coaching for 5 years. I've been playing since she's met me. Now she wants to be a coach's wife and she wants to watch. I love it. Look, better late than never. She wanted to watch Swamp Kings. She gets mad if I watch Hard Knocks and she's not with me.
Yes,
so I got
he
those.
did.
I got.
She drank
Friday,
Kool-Aid.
so is this
Meanwhile-
your first time watching Friday Night Lights, the series?
No, I've watched it like 4 or 5
Oh,
times
it's
through.
so
But my wife loves
That
it.
was my first time watching it. This was my first time ever watching
really?
the series itself.
Oh,
Yeah, and
my wife.
I turned to Jenna after one of the episodes and I said, you know what? Like, there's not an episode where they don't touch on something that I've dealt with firsthand. It was just craziness. Whether, you know what I mean? Whether it be Booster Club, kids getting in trouble, or this issue, I'm looking at it going, damn, dude, I've been through all of this shit.
And my wife wants to be Tammy Taylor. My wife wants to be Tammy Taylor. Because I tell her, I'm like, look, my wife's a nurse, right? Sometimes she comes to games late because she gets off at 6, 7 o'clock. But I said, if I lose by 42 or win by 42, I want to go kiss my wife on the fence. You know, at the end of the day, she's still going to love me, hopefully. But
hopefully,
I've been with her but no, this has been great. I actually just got her a shirt on Amazon that says, what does it say? My husband doesn't care what play you think he should call. Love the coach's wife.
Listen,
so she's gonna be wearing that shirt on Friday night.
Poor Dave's dealing with it right now, man, because he's coaching the 8U stuff, and this is the first time that his son Troy is in like pads, right? So this was the first game they had this weekend, and poor Nicole's going, oh my god, like what's going on? My baby is smashing in there. Listen, it'll probably take her a game or two before she starts fighting people. I know where she's from, dude.
I love it.
Nicole doesn't mess around.
When your wife football and your wife supports you, there's nothing better. There's nothing better.
It's fun
because I decided to take I changed my careers from working in media to being a teacher and coach in the middle of COVID when my wife's an ICU nurse. So she's getting her butt kicked every day in the ICU floor. And I say, hey, I want to change my job and switch careers when jobs are at a scarce. And I want to do this full time. And she supported me through and through. So, she loves it. And now that I went from an hour and 40 commute in Parsippany to a 4-minute commute living in the town that I coach in. So it was all worth it. At the end of the day.
That's a huge deal.
That's a much better deal. That's when I took the job at Red Bank, I was the head coach in Indian Hills. I was doing the same thing that you were doing. I was living out here and I was commuting. And actually I loved Indian Hills. I really did. But it was just so long. It was such a long commute that I think everyone was going to kill me at some point if I kept doing that commute, to coach football. But
we love the game, man. There's something different about football, right? I mean, that's why we do it.
No doubt about it. I was glad to be able to go to Red Bank, but it hurt me because I liked the Indian Hills a ton.
I remember when Derek was at Red Bank with you, and my brother was at Donovan, and you decided to kick an onside kick right at his chest.
I told him I was going to do it.
That was great. And I'm in the sidelines. I go, Derek's going to kick it right at 44. I know for a fact he's going to do it. And there it was.
Donovan was that.
I think it's one of those things. I mean, listen, that's when they had the pretty good quarterback Brian.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah. And Coach Kirchhoff's doing good things there. I always text him. There's no bad blood between us. I'm happy what he's doing with my alma mater.
It's nice
God
to
bless
see those
him,
guys win on a consistent
Tell them
basis.
that any guys that are from your town that aren't starting, just to send them back.
You could say that, Coach Shu. I'm not going to say.
I'll tell you a couple things that I used to do when I was at Powell Park. I used to get all my players back from Bergen Catholic and Paramus Catholic. I used to go sit in the stands and watch their JV and freshman games. And as soon as they thought that they were getting the shaft, I was standing right there, baby. I was right there. Come on back.
Oh my God! I'll never forget my cuz right here. Right, the long phone calls we have. You're playing at Donovan, you're playing at Monsignor, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. And then, boom, Donovan turns it on. My brother's there. Well, your brother lost more football games than you won championships, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, Derek, I got it, bro. I got it. I'm just happy to see my alma mater win, man. Just because I'm a public school head coach in Ocean County doesn't mean I'm not rooting for him. My jersey's right behind me. So
I'll tell you the greatest thing about that, though, is when, like, obviously – all of us have had the fortunate or unfortunate privilege of coaching with D. Smith.
Oh, yeah.
So
my D-line coach, baby.
So the best story I have is your old man told me, like, you had to like block him or go one-on-ones with him in a game or something when he was playing. Like, and I'm just thinking about you playing offensive line and D. Smith, who ended up being a Division I defensive lineman.
Yeah. So all right. So let me tell this story before Derek puts his dramatic Derek spin on it. So Coach Smith, I'm blessed that he lives in Manchester, played at Monmouth University, played at Jackson Memorial. He's on my staff,
dude.
Yeah. Oh, he's the man. I love him. He's one of my best friends.
For a year.
Even better, our wives are good friends, so that makes the job even a little bit more easier. So Shore's best camp, I don't know, 2010, 2011. I remember I played for Coach Duddy. We ran the triple option. I'm 5'11", 180. I'm playing center. We played a lot of even front, so all I got to do is just get to the second level. We run the fastest lineman drill. I get up and I win it. I'm 5'11", 180. I should be a running back, a slot back. Yo, this man ain't no lineman, Coach Smith. This man ain't no lineman, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I am. Yo, no, you're not. I go, yeah, well, then put your pads on. Needless to say, a little scruff broke out. I was on the bottom of that pile. But the good thing about that story is that I tell my kids that story, knowing that your head coach never backs down from anyone, no matter how big
there you go, buddy. Nice
and strong they are. So that was just, and then I see him. I see him at a local restaurant in town, and I get the job, and he happens to be at that restaurant in town the night I got board approved, and I'm like, yo, come coach with me. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I live in Manchester. I'm like, that's even better.
Yes,
I got a stipend position for you. Come coach my D line.
Oh, and money. If you got money, you're good.
Yeah. Yep. So he's awesome. He just had a baby. He has a baby girl. He just had a baby boy, Juju. Him and V live right down the street from me. So that's just it. In 2010, you tell me 13 years later he's going to be my assistant coach, I would laugh at you. But it's awesome.
The networking, man. This is a network that's unlike anything else.
No doubt. Well, I remember Coach Smith running down the sideline when Owen Laughlin returned the kick and he was chasing him. Remember that? We won on
our walk-off kick return.
We won on a walk-off kick return against Central. They kicked the ball.
Craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
There was what was there? 5 seconds in the game or
3 seconds? I think
they kicked like a ground ball.
Under 10.
Yep, they kicked the ground ball and it squeaked to our back guy. One of our back guys, Owen Laughlin, and he took it. He got through and got to the outside and scored. No time left on the clock.
I love it.
Is that crazy?
It was crazy.
It was.
Was Derek calling the special teams? Does he take credit for that?
Well,
listen.
He takes credit for whether he had anything to do with it or not.
This was one of those I don't even know, they executed every way you were supposed to do it right, and
and you're taking off your headset, running down the stands, probably thinking the game's over. And then
all I know is, and you may know it, and I'm gonna blow him up here, Coach Boberts, point blank guy. Yep. He decided that he was going to jump in the air with Dave and do a hip check, type of chest to chest. My man was horizontal to the ground.
I crushed him.
Dude, Dave laid him out, dude. It was like a flashback to him playing linebacker at UConn. Dude, Boberts.
He didn't get high enough. He didn't get high enough. He didn't have good enough vert.
I tell you what.
I love it.
Maybe after the game he did. But either way, he definitely was on the ground, dude. And I'll tell you, I don't know, man, but I never saw a big man like that hit the ground and get up so fast, but we got it on tape for history, dude. It was one of the craziest parts of the game I've ever seen.
Hey, you do some crazy stuff when you win, man.
D. Smith's a great dude, bro. D. Smith's a really good guy. Really good coach. Really good coach.
Going up real quick, one more thing about Coach Smith. So I just told you about my defensive end, my sophomore defensive end, Curtis Mayer, who's getting looked at by some Division I schools. Last year, he's a freshman. He's practicing with the freshmen. My dude, Kurt, has goggles on, long blonde hair. We call him Sunshine. He's probably 6'1", maybe 180 pounds soaking wet. Now he's 6'2", like 215. And Meach comes over to me and goes, Coach, you got to put Kurt in. I go, Kurt, goggles, Kurt? He goes, yeah, bro. I'm like, all right, man. Coach Smith knows how to see talent. We put him in. He crushes our starting offense on Scout D. We put him in on starting D. He has 2 sacks against Toms River East in our second win last year. and I'll never question that man again. I was like, he knows how to find talent, man.
That's great. That is great, dude. Dude, this has been awesome having you on the podcast. We want to extend. And first of all, before I let you go, on Twitter, like, how can people reach out to you if they ever want to have you on their podcast, something like that?
I'm Coach T Farrell on Twitter, and then on Instagram and Twitter at Manchester TWPFB. Is our Manchester football account. So I appreciate you guys having me on. I feel like I was just in the car driving home from Parsippany with you guys. This just felt like a long drive that got me through traffic. So I appreciate it.
Listen, man, we get on, we just talk ball, buddy. I really appreciate it.
That's it. We have fun.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate
you having me. Good luck this week, Coach.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, man. Talk soon.
That was awesome, dude. That was awesome, Pog. That really was great. I had to switch to the I had to go your route. I had to go your route. You know why? Because not only is there craziness going on, but I brought my laptop upstairs and it's always connected to the power source, so I never look at it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if for some reason I accidentally knock it off, I'm usually next to the power source, so I just plug it back in.
You just plug it in and you're good.
I looked like we're 15 minutes. We're 15 minutes in, and I look, and I'm like, what? I'm out of juice. I'm like, there's no way I'm going downstairs in this craziness and trying to juice it up. So I just like, let me make the switch. That's why there was a little like weird echo for like a minute or two until I figured it out how to make the switch. But
the other part, it's funny, dude, because he's so young, but he's so mature beyond his years. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would never imagine that kid is a kid, and that this is his first head coaching job. He's just been around the game for so long, and like you said, he's done the right thing by surrounding himself with some of those older guys to kind of show him the ropes a little bit. I think that was an extremely smart move.
Very, very smart move. I certainly
in more ways than one, right? And not just the, hey, those guys can help me, but in like an optics type of move where if I'm a superintendent and I'm hiring this young guy and I see him go and hire older guys, right, to kind of make sure, now I'm looking at a guy that's saying, okay, he's kind of doing it the right way.
Absolutely. And I think what's really funny, what's really interesting about that is that he did it. He's got 3 of them, which is fantastic. I was thinking back when he was talking about that. I was like, I tried to do that by hiring Dara White as my assistant when I was first got the job at Saddlebrook.
I remember.
And they basically almost they were like, no. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't have the old head coach who's the winningest head coach in Saddlebrook history. I'm
trying to take the guy that actually did something right here.
Yes, I said that can only happen at Saddlebrook High School. I can only happen, and you've taught there, so it can only happen there.
It's funny because he does have pretty much the one guy that did actually do a little bit of winning at Manchester, right? And
yes, I said that.
Because he's been a teacher, and it's his uncle pretty much. So, and I've met him a bunch of times. Great guy, and he's in the building as a teacher as well. So it kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone,
Yeah, oh, no doubt about it. And I think that I didn't really realize, and I didn't realize he had 11 coaches on his staff. And
yes, he's got a huge staff, dude.
I mean,
because here's the thing,
they have 71 kids. Wow,
and that's another. I'm telling you, it's another. Like, he's now creating something where people want to come and do it.
It's just a matter of time. That's it. Could happen now, though. One thing about the Shore, we talk about the Shore scheduling, like the pros and the cons of it. The one pro of them constantly changing it each year is that groups can get opportunities, you know what I mean? Because of the to get better. Now, I mean, the negative, not for Manchester, but in general, the negative is that, like, if you're near the top but not the top, you could end up getting, depending
shafted.
You could get shafted, but it's
depending on the year, it's depending on how many people like went from bad to good or good to bad. If you're kind of that,
if you're good but not elite, meaning
I want to say that you're that Manasquan,
right, you're very, very good, but you're not like you're not always going to be, I don't know what, 9-2. Like you're always going to be a positive on the positive side.
you'll always be a plus, but you might not always be, whatever. You
Right,
might have
because
more
you
than
have a
3
negative,
losses.
you'll drop down. But if you're always
Right.
on the positive, but
You'll kind of just stay.
you're not like 10-0, a type of team that's 10-0 every year.
I think the pressure from the outside conferences, right, will change the way they do that unless they decide to just be, hey, we're the Shore and this is kind of how we do things. But I think the pressure from like not only the other conferences, but also like even the New Jersey Coaches Association, like those guys, you can tell that they're just like, come on, Shore, just do what everybody else does. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But it is, look, you can only do what you're either told or allowed to do within those parameters, right? So you kind of just take it and you maximize it. Like, what am I going to do? I can't sit here and complain about how it is. You just got to kind of roll with it and go. So
absolutely.
Who knows?
Great podcast. Let's
Good
sign
stuff,
off.
buddy.
We'll see you next time.
All right, guys. We'll see you
All
next time.